Hi peeps, and welcome to my channel. My name is Jennifer, and on my channel I just do my makeup and I chit chat. And today's topic is about a serial killer. So I'd like to say a little disclaimer to start out. The following content does contain explicit lyrics and vulgar language. So if you are sensitive to that or in that area, please feel free to change the channel. And if you are not sensitive to that and you'd like to proceed with me, please feel free to do your makeup with me and or just view the content. I really appreciate my viewers and my subscribers, and if you guys are ready, let's go. So today's serial killer reigns out of the state of Florida. So today's guy is Gary Ray Bowles, and Gary was born in Virginia in January of 1962. Gary grew up in Rupert, Virginia, and at a young age, Gary decided that he was going to resign from his elementary school at 8th grade. He was raised by his mother, and unfortunately, Gary's real father died before he was born. He was a coal miner and he died of black lung disease. So Gary never really knew his father. So his mother had remarried a couple times. Well, unfortunately for Gary and his older brother, his stepfathers were not the nicest men. The first stepfather was abusive towards Gary and his older brother. And then his mom remarried again. And his second stepfather, Chet, was extremely abusive. I mean, Chet took it to the limits. And there was a time where he took the abuse and the beatings too far. Gary went on to say that his stepfather used a belt and his fist to beat him and his older brother. So at the age of 13, Gary felt that enough was enough, so he took a concrete brick and he beat the shit out of his stepdad. And his mom would intervene on these beatings with his brother and him, and she would just get her ass beat too by the guys. So that didn't work. So when he beat the stepdad with the concrete brick, he almost killed his stepdad. But he didn't, because the mother jumped in and stuck up for the stepdad, and then Gary ended up running away at the age of 13. So when Gary ran away, he hitchhiked from Virginia to DC. Well, on his hitchhiking adventure, Gary met a gentleman that put him on to tricking, and he educated Gary in how to be a gigolo and how to make money by sucking dick or having his dick sucked. And he paid Gary $20 to perform oral sex on him. So when he reached his final destination of Florida, that's when Gary decided to start his serial killings. So that was in 1994, March 15th to be exact. And Gary was a heterosexual individual. However, he targeted gay men, and what he did was meet these gay gentlemen at bars. And his first victim, John Roberts, he met him at the bar, and they hit it off. Well, Gary had stated that he got the phone number of John, and he decided to call him up a little bit later. So Gary called him up, went over to John's house, and John was like, hey, you know, if you want to do something, go ahead and put a VHS tape in, and I'll be in right back. He went into the other room. Well, he put the VHS tape in the VCR, and I guess something had triggered Gary from what he had seen on the VHS, so he like snapped. Well, what he did next is very vulgar. He decided to use force to beat the hell out of John's head and strangle him, and then he took a rag and he tied it up really, really tightly and shoved it down his larynx. And then he stole his wallet, stole his identification, and he stole his vehicle, and then he left. So that was the first of 6 victims. Now, when he left with Mr. Roberts' car, he fled down to a spot location, in Daytona Beach, Florida. And in Daytona Beach, he met a 72-year-old man, Milton Bradley, at a gay bar named Faces. So this one is like really sad because Milton was handicapped. He like was with it, but he wasn't with it. Like he was really slow. Like he had spinal meningitis. He always hung out at the same location, Faces location, that bar. And Gary was the predator there, and he was shooting pool. And what would happen was that Milton, because it was a small town, Milton would take a taxi cab home, usually. Well, this particular night, he was befriending Gary. And Gary said that the bartender had asked him to give Milton Bradley a ride home. And another statement was said was that when Milton was going to get in his taxi, that Gary offered Milton a ride home. Well, we don't know what 100% happened with that, but what happened next is just horrible. So Gary was driving with Milton in his vehicle, and he decided that, in his own words, that this motherfucker was a creep and he was going to fuck him up. So instead of taking Milton home, which, mind you, again, Milton's 72 years old and he's handicapped, he took him to the Savannah golf course. So now we're in Georgia because Gary is the I-95 killer, and he did his killings up the East Coast of the United States of America. So I didn't want to jump around, but we're in Georgia now. So he took him to Savannah Golf Club and bludgeoned him over the head severely. Like, he didn't stop. When he started hitting someone in the head, he hits them in the head, like, continuously. Then he shoved leaves and dirt down Milton's throat. So when detectives found Milton in the back of the golf course, he was just unrecognizable. And they're like, we probably have a serial killer on our hands because this, MO is the same as what happened in Florida. And they couldn't catch him. He stole his wallet, he stole his identification, and went on to do this to 4 more victims. Well, the third victim, he was renting a room from him, and the guy, mind you, Gary is heterosexual. He only preyed on gay individuals. Well, the gay individuals were tricked into thinking that Gary was gay too, and he was not. So I think that that is an important piece of this puzzle. So when he rented rooms or rented apartments from these men, he would trick them into, trying to be his like boyfriend or his lover or whatever. And the third victim, I guess he really didn't want to kill the guy, but he ended up killing him the same way because the guy was getting kind of perturbed because Gary was having like parties and stuff at the apartment when he was supposed to like be his lover, and the parties would consist of like females and stuff, and the guy is like, hey, I thought you were my male friend, and he wasn't. So he killed him off. Gary ended up, stealing his identification. But with this one, Timothy Whitfield, he took his identification to the DMV, told them he lost his driver's license, and then assumed the identity of Timothy. So he figured, if I assume this identity, I'm not going to get caught, because he was already in way too deep. I mean, this is going on like his 4th victim or whatever. So when Timothy was caught, or not Timothy was caught, when Gary was caught, it was because the landlord had called the cops on him because he had seen him at either a rest area or a gay bar. He was posted all over the place. And then the cops had let him go because they assumed that they had the wrong gentleman. Well, Gary then decided to lay low for 2 weeks only. And then he would continue to just do all the serial killings. Well, then in August of 1994 is when he was apprehended, and they only wanted to ask him about one of the murders. Well, Gary ended up confessing to all 6 of the murders. So, not August, I'm sorry, November of 1994. So when he confessed to all 6 of the murders, he was kind of like relieved, because I guess the guy was like really, really strict on him, and he was like, don't lie to me, you better tell me the truth, and we know about this, we know about that, how interrogations go or whatever. You watch a lot of criminal videos, and I guess Gary was like, I did it, I'm confessing, I'm just glad that it's over. And from there, Gary went to Florida State Prison, and he was charged 2 death sentences for the murders, his serial killing spree. Now, a couple key points that I do want to make known in this case. These cases, actually, not just this case, these cases, plural, is that Gary was, he began his male prostitution career at the age of 13. So Gary continued this occupation for 20 years. And when he said that he got triggered with that video on his first serial killing victim, when the cops and the detectives searched the area after they got the evidence and everything to come see the dead body and wondering what the fuck's going on, they didn't find anything that said that there was any kind of child pornography. They didn't find any evidence on videotape that he said that he saw two grown men having sexual intercourse with a little boy, and that's what made him snap. Well, he said the same thing about his fourth killing. And in Gary's mind, he was serving justice, and quote unquote, he said that these motherfuckers got what they deserved. So another famous quote of his was he wanted to quote unquote kill as many people as he could before he got caught. Another quote he said was that he wasn't trying to commit the perfect crime. Gary was this well-known serial killer. He was very charming. He was very handsome. He was very nice. They usually say that the serial killers are nice and handsome and everything like that, but I was literally researching this guy and watching this guy for like 2 weeks straight, almost every single day, because I could not believe that this guy did all this. Like, if you were talking to him, or if you even looked at him or anything like that, you would be like, there's no fucking way. And there is. Like, you would not even believe that this had happened to him and his brother when they were younger. And some more facts is that I don't think that when Gary was, actually, this is a fact turned opinion turned fact. I'm trying to keep all the opinions out because that's not what matters. Facts matter in this case, all cases, any cases. So when Gary was doing this, he was 32 years old. And like he said, he didn't wake up one day and just become a serial killer. He had a horrible, growing up childhood. And luckily, Gary received his GED in the Florida State Prison. And it's very, very unfortunate that abuse like this, when you're a child, can turn out to be so horrible. But it happens. It happens more than we know about it. I'm really sorry for the victims' families. I would like to say a prayer for them. And Gary ended up passing away on death row of lethal injection. I'm sorry, that's not funny. Of lethal injection. And he passed away in 2019. Now, one of the victims' sisters was in the courtroom when Gary got sentenced. And Gary walked past her in the courtroom and winked at her. And she was like, I can't believe that this guy thinks, like, if he winks at me and he's flirting with me in court after what he did to my brother, she's like, I just couldn't believe it. But yeah, so unfortunately, about 80 to 90% of these serial killers, men and women and transgenders, they have a abusive childhood. And it's like, I don't know what people can actually do about that, but just be a good human. I did not read anywhere that when Gary was changing his identity, that he like changed his hair color or whatever, or changed his looks. He just basically changed his identity. He changed his name. So he decided to also say in the end that the reason why he got caught is because he stayed in one place too long. Which kind of does make sense. I don't know. I'm not a serial killer, but when his landlord called the cops on him, that would actually raise a red flag right there. Like, okay, if your face is posted all over the place, bars and rest areas and stuff like that, you're not going to want to get close to, especially a landlord, because that landlord, you know, has you wrapped around their finger or whatever. But that's just a couple of my thoughts. So thank you so much for watching my video today, and I will see you in my next video. Thank you so much for viewing and subscribing, and as always, I really, really appreciate you guys. Have a great day.